So sit back, relax, and let's connect. Welcome everybody to the first solo episode of Let's Connect. That's right, today I actually am not interviewing a guest. It's just me essentially interviewing myself and sharing some recent wisdom and thoughts that I've been having. So much comes through during the week as I'm interviewing people for the podcast, as I'm coaching clients, as I'm doing my own self-work too. I find as a coach, this is really an important practice, is not only to be giving and asking questions, but also receiving by going inward and asking myself powerful questions. So part of this episode today, as selfishly as it sounds, is also me doing some deeper reflecting. And as a result, we're going to update each other here. So today I wanted to introduce you to this format. Every second week, I'm going to be doing a solo episode, starting with this one. And on alternate weeks, I'll be interviewing a guest. And just a reminder that if you have guest ideas for the show, please send them my way. And I love to hear feedback. I love to hear how you're enjoying the show, or if you're not enjoying the show as well. Hopefully you are, though. I'd love to hear that as well. Also, just to let you know that we're now filming the podcast as well, and I'll be posting clips and episodes up on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/KeithMMac. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can watch especially the guest interviews on Zoom that happen all over the world. It's kind of fun to see it visually if you're not driving in your car. So hello to all of you watching out there as well. Today, I wanted to talk about the topic of vulnerability. I'm going to be exploring this theme over the next 3 or 4 episodes with my guests and with myself, and just the different takes of this word vulnerable. Why did I start with this word? Because to be honest, to be vulnerable has so many layers to unpack, and there's just so much to explore in this world of vulnerability. And I thought, why not dive in with a topic that feels a bit edgy as well to me? I think that there's something to be said for going right to the edge and confronting the things that scare us the most. There's a saying in Hunakani from the Hawaiian training that I've done that says, love brings up anything unlike itself to clear. And you can't have love and fear in the same space. So ultimately, anything that's coming up that feels edgy or uncomfortable or feels misaligned is most likely fear that's needing to be released so that you can return back to the part of yourself that is essentially love. And that is a constant, ongoing practice, at least as far as I know, while we're here in this physical form, these bodies. So vulnerability, I went so far as to look this up online just to see what does it actually say when you look at the definition of vulnerability in the dictionary. And it says vulnerability, the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. I'd like to add, it's like, to me, vulnerability is about putting yourself out there, literally taking your mask off and showing and exposing who you actually are and your truth in the world, who you actually are as a soul on this planet. And I think for most of us that can be really, really scary, myself included, where when we put ourselves out there, we risk the fear of being rejected, the fear of not being liked, the fear of being alone and isolated. So many of us are so terrified to actually bare our soul to another because of this. And I think that being vulnerable is really one of the most courageous things we can do, and one of the most important things we can practice on the planet right now. We're living in a time where I think so much has been emphasized around, wearing your masks and looking a certain way. You just have to scroll through social media these days and look at everybody's Instagrams, mine included, where we're putting filters up because we want to personify this like lovely life that we're living and everything's okay and great. But the truth is that I think underneath a lot of those layers, a lot of us are battling so much insecurity. I'm going to speak, I say so much of us, but if I was really honest, I think I am. I think I'm battling insecurity, and this has been an ongoing pattern of mine for most of my life now that I think about it. This goes all the way back to before I was even born when I really reflect on it. Some of you may know this story, some of you may not. before I was born, my dad was diagnosed with testicular cancer back in the 70s, and somewhere in the middle of all that, my mom got pregnant. And when they found out my mom was pregnant, I guess the doctors had recommended that she consider aborting the baby because they didn't know the effects of the treatment, the chemotherapy my dad was receiving, and just how that would play into pregnancy at the time. It was just very early on in cancer research with chemotherapy. And so my mom was confronted, my parents were confronted with the decision: do we abort this baby or risk that he'll be born and have a bunch of deformations and whatnot? And they went for it. They somehow mustered up the courage to go for it. And as a result, here I am on the planet today. But I do believe, and there's a lot of research that's been done around the connection between a mother and the fetus before it's born. If you look up Bruce Lipton's work on this, he speaks about it in his book, The Honeymoon Effect, where he's talked about actual research that says, the experience of the mother before the baby's even born, emotionally and energetically has a direct effect on the fetus. And I do believe that at some level, in that decision making of should we abort this baby or not, I do believe, when I think back, I can feel it in my body. There was a part of me that started doubting, am I worthy to be here on the planet? Am I worthy to be born into this world? And am I actually enough to make a go of this human life? So when I go all the way back there, although I don't have conscious memory of it, I think this pattern started for me a long time ago. And as a result, I was born, and I'm very grateful to be here on the planet. But, my whole life has been lesson after lesson around how to become more and more vulnerable and truthful with what am I actually feeling, and how am I actually being as I'm moving through this life. I can think early on when I was in about grade 7, my need to be liked and seen by the opposite sex. I had a huge crush on a girl in grade 7. I won't name her because she might be listening and I don't want to embarrass her. I had a huge crush on her, and I remember asking her out on a date, and she just totally rejected me and said no. And at the time, my heart was broken, which I think all of us have been in an experience of that. And it just kind of reaffirmed for me, like, I'm not enough. I'm not enough to measure up to what this girl wants. And so at that time, I unconsciously made the decision that I was going to learn guitar. And it's because my friend in grade 7 also played guitar. And whenever he brought his guitar to school and played, all the girls just like swarmed over him. So I decided that I'd take up guitar lessons and learn guitar and be just like him. And as a result, I started playing music and really got into music over time. Cut tape, I'm in a band, I'm traveling all over the world playing music, and this has become my complete identity. And the one thing being a musician is playing music, everybody likes you. I shouldn't say everybody. The music critics, there's been a few that have totally slammed me down over time. But the music, people love musicians. People love when music's played. It's a form of connection. But for me, it was also a form of being seen and loved and liked. So this was a pattern that I was very unaware of at the time, but I'd play music to be seen and liked. And cut tape again, I found myself after being on Canadian Idol, which was the epitome of being liked and needing to be loved and seen. I realized after that show there was more to life than trying to be famous and, prove my worth that way. I actually became a yogi, and I really got into yoga, and I went to a yoga teacher training through the Moksha, now it's called Moto yoga program. And I spent a month there, and at the time I was really working through some of these self-esteem, self-doubt issues, and I made a deal with myself that when I went to the training for a whole month, I was not going to play guitar or mention that I was a musician, because before that point, whenever I played music at events, people just instantly loved it, and I became super popular and liked, and it was like filling up my need to be seen and liked. So I ended up not playing music for a month at this training, and it was such an interesting experiment. I had to really confront a lot of my fears about, am I enough without my guitar, hiding behind my guitar. And sure enough, at the very end of the training, it somehow got out there that I was a musician, and everybody had asked me, can you just play us one song? And so I did, and I played actually a bunch of songs, and instantly I saw how everybody there just kind of shifted their perspective of me, and all of a sudden I was on a pedestal as this like amazing musician. And it just, for me, when I saw that juxtaposed next to how it had been for the whole month, I knew that I no longer could hide behind my music. I needed to really confront my need to be liked and seen. And this has been an ongoing journey through all of my life in so many ways. And what I can tell you, just in terms of what I'm learning about this, is the more we be in the place of stillness and really listening to our emotions and our feelings and our body, wisdom that's there, and then honoring what's there, the more we start freeing ourselves to truly realize that we're enough just simply through being. It's not about doing. It's not about what I have. It's not about what I've accomplished. It's not about what I've gained, all the accolades that I've gained. It's not about my reputation. It's really about the fact that I'm already enough. I think Fred Rogers said it best when he said, "You're lovable just the way you are." And I'm learning that lesson as we go, and I'm sure a lot of you listening are as well. So today, let's update each other and remind each other that you are lovable just the way you are. And if you want a homework practice, get in front of a mirror and look at yourself and say that. You are lovable just the way you are. And this can be a very transformative practice on the journey of becoming more vulnerable and loving yourself. In the weeks ahead, I'm going to be speaking to a few guests about this as well. Next week, I have Haley Jean Penner on the program. She's written a book called People You Follow, and it's really an incredible book. I couldn't put it down, and I'm so excited for you to meet her and learn about her vulnerable story of moving towards self-acceptance as well. So I hope you'll consider joining me as well next week for that episode. And until next time, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Be well. Let me know if what this has brought up for you. And again, just remembering you are lovable just the way you are. You are enough. I am enough.